Today I'm going to show you a tool that I use to get really thin lines with spray paint like this. So to get thin lines with spray paint, if you're doing a mural or some artwork, I usually will use a sort of a level 1 Montana cap. So it's a skinny cap. I really get thin lines with that, but if I want to get thinner lines, I use a stencil cap. And the brand that I use is called the Tiny Paint. So this is the stencil cap that I have right here. You can see there's a ton of paint on it. I use it all the time, and this basically clamps onto the actual spray paint can just like that. So it's a snug fit. And what it does is basically allows you to put the can onto this cap holder, and then basically when you spray, there's only a tiny opening that will allow paint to get through, that small little dot right there, and then everything else is collected in this reservoir. So basically all that extra paint goes in here, and then it fills up, and you can actually release it and just empty it out as you go along painting, just by taking off this little cap at the end of it. You're just making really tiny lines just with this hole right there. So it gets really thin lines. So I have two of them, so you can kind of see the difference between the two holes. They do clog up a lot, so sometimes when you're using this and you're painting for long periods of time, you constantly have to unclog it. So that's why I have these screws and nails, duct tape or tape to it, so that if something does happen and it does clog, I can just use that nail or the screw to sort of, you know, clean off the tip of it right there. So that's a really tiny hole. This one is a little bit bigger, so it doesn't clog as much, but it still clogs periodically. So I will use the Tiny Paint stencil cap on details that I don't want to mess up. So usually if I'm doing hair, eyelashes, you know, certain things or glares in the eye, highlights, different things like that, I'll use the Tiny Paint for. Especially because I did all this work to put the first layer down, to put the face down, things like that, and I'm going on top of different elements of the face with one stroke. I want to make sure I can get a clean line the first time. The Tiny Paint cap is about 30 bucks online, depending on where you're at or who you shop with. I use Bombing Science, and basically I believe they ship out the US, so you know, it's not that much for shipping. But once you have one, it lasts for a long time. You really just have to make sure you clean it out periodically. So I'm usually soaking this in acetone in between projects. And what's cool about this Tiny Paint cap is that it first started out as a Kickstarter, I believe, by Matthew Don. He has his name right there. And it was 3D printed, and through, you know, a few different, I believe, iterations, because this seems like a very newer model than the original. So these have been going through testing and trial and error, and this one right here, like I said, is one that I rely on a lot. And I'm not getting paid for this at all. I don't get free caps. I just like to share exactly the tools that I use, especially when people ask me about some of these tools. So hopefully you like the video. Go out and get one of your own and try it out, because I think you'll really like it, because you know, you can do big walls with this one, and you can also do little canvas pieces in your studio, because now you're able to get really tiny lines, you know, just by using this stencil cap. So make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and I'll see you next time. Peace.